Fucking not gonna giggle.
Have that be the intro.
Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Film Asylum, where if you are crazy about movies, you belong here. We are your hosts, Colin Peters.
Wolfman's got Nards!
Yo, straight up, I'm gonna kick you in the dick like Forrest kicked that wolf, alright?
John Rochester here.
I'm always Jeff Manfred.
So since John spoiled the show for
You all knew it was coming. Everybody knew it was coming.
Right now.
At least I'd have Nards.
we should tell everybody about this little adventure. We went to Mahoning Drive-In and saw the movie Monster Squad and got to meet actor Andrew Gower on the set, or on the land, I should say.
Yeah.
And set, wow.
Really nice guy to meet, Andre Gower.
Oh, Andre was fucking awesome.
He was great.
Honestly, I did not know what to expect when we met him. And I was like, I didn't know how he was going to act. But even watching the documentary, he seems like a really cool guy. But until we met him in person, I was just like, dude, he is probably the best person we've ever met. Again, we've met a lot
Easily.
of people.
Yeah, I mean, Ernie Hudson was like super generous too. I got it. Like, he'll always be probably my top guy. I thought Ernie Hudson was just the fucking man.
You had that conversation about filming with Nick Castle, which was really cool.
Yeah, Nick Castle was really cool. Robert Englund was really cool. Kane Hodder, Heather Langenkamp. Like, you know, like I can name like a bunch, but like at the top of my list, I always put Ernie Hudson at top because he just was like super sincere. But Andre's just like right up there too.
I mean, even despite the weather conditions that we were facing, it was drizzling a little bit. It wasn't hardcore rain. It was just an annoying drizzle that we had experienced throughout the entire evening. But even in the conditions, he was genuinely happy to be there and to meet the line of people ready to see him. We got an entire photo album with this guy.
Yeah.
Not just one picture. We've got like 6 different pictures that we got to get with Andre Gower.
And he looked like he was having fun.
Mm-hmm. Making jokes, communicating with everybody in line. Oh yeah, he was genuinely happy to be there.
Even if you didn't get anything signed from him, he still took his time out to be like, "Hey, I'm Andre. Who are you?" You know, like he like genuinely cared about just saying like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, he wanted to know your name. He wanted to meet you.
I thought that was really awesome.
I mean, like, what? We got 6, 7 photos but there's like 30 on my phone. He's just like, let's go. Let's go. Let's get more to it.
There's no time limit. He's not like no one's pushing us aside. Like, okay, time's up. Move on. Next group. Wasn't like that. No, it was great.
And his Q&A was really good too. Mm-hmm. I really appreciated him telling the stories that he did and how he said he wanted to go to college and become a journalist of, I forget what his major was. It was something that like I don't remember really hearing before, but it was pretty wild hearing him say that he wanted to go to college and be that instead of being an actor more. I was like,
he took a hiatus from acting, and now he's focused all this time, or at least he did a couple of years ago, to start making this documentary, Wolfman's Got Nards.
It was actually for the 30th anniversary.
The 30th anniversary.
Yeah, obviously it's on the...
This is true. Jeff and I got to participate in the Q&A. We each got to ask him a question. Colin, why didn't you ask him a question?
I was in the car with a woman.
He was.
What, you couldn't get out and you couldn't join us?
No. I'm in a car with a woman and a drive-in.
But I was like, even when I was standing in line behind John, it was just funny because I took a picture of him.
You did?
It's John.
What are you going to ask him, John? Because the guy in front of me asked a question that I was going to ask, or at least it felt too similar. So I was like, shit, I got to change it up. I don't want to feel like the dick at like doing a repeat question again. So my question was, if there was like a practical jokester, or who's the funny guy on set. And Andre, said, because the kids being on set, it's a very serious matter because, working with child labor laws, you're losing money, every minute you got to be professional, and it just goes double for the kids. And it makes sense. But he did share a really funny story about the actor who played the mummy, which wasn't in the documentary, so I'm glad we got to have this moment. So Of course, I forget the name of the actor who plays the mummy, but he's a very scrawny actor, and he's made a career out of it. Because he was wearing that skeletal faceplate, he couldn't properly eat his meals when it came to lunchtime, so all the kids took turns feeding him during lunch. And he would just kind of mouth at the side of his face and just going, "Thank you. Thank you so much." He couldn't talk properly, but they were just taking turns spoon-feeding him his meals through a straw. It was great. I like a good laugh.
I like the story where he talked about how he didn't know anything about Tom Noonan, so he rented Manhunter.
Oh my god, yeah.
The year before Monster Squad, that's when Manhunter came out.
Like, how's that for a first impression? For anybody who doesn't know what Manhunter is actually the movie. It's like the prequel to Silence of the Lambs before it was Silence of the Lambs. There's a Hannibal Lecter character. It's actually also the original Red Dragon,
Yes.
which is what it is.
Yeah.
But the title was changed because like dragon movies were known for flopping at the time, so they didn't keep that title. And there's no continuity because the Hannibal Lecter actor is a different actor as well.
It's Brian Cox.
And the guy who is the Edward Norton character, Graham.
Yeah.
It's the guy from CSI. Like the original CSI.
Oh,
I'd
yeah.
say for now standards, it's pretty dated. Like, it's just funny because, like, it is total 80s. Like, the phones, the effects, everything. But
Oh, of course.
I think, honestly, Tom Noonan and Brian Cox did an amazing job.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's creepy as hell.
I remember when I saw Tom Noonan in that, I was like, if anybody ever questions this guy's talent, which I don't know why anybody would.
Why would you?
Yeah, watch Manhunter. He's just like, oh, man, he's so good in that movie.
Mm-hmm. And that was Andre Gower's impression. Like, oh my god, this is who's playing Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Monster. This psychopath who likes to like bite people's teeth out of their mouth.
Oh my god.
Oh Jesus. But yeah, Monsters. Wolfman's Got Nards. I really, really loved this documentary.
Well, this, before we forget, it was Monster Squad at the Drive-In with Andre Gower, followed by Wolfman's Got Nards.
Right. The Q&A was like the intermission.
Yes.
I'd say, honestly, the only question I had for him was, like, what monsters they would fight in the sequel. And the funny thing is, like, he seemed like he already had a sequel written, which I wouldn't mind seeing, even if it was now, like, almost 35 years later. Holy crap. But it was like, I didn't realize how much of a horror nerd he was until he started talking about monsters.
Oh, yeah, that was really cool.
I'm sitting there, I was in awe, like, the whole time, like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he really is like the kid in the movie.
Yeah.
And it was funny because it was like, I even said that to Lexi when I got back in the car. I'm like, oh my god, like, I didn't realize he was a horror nerd. And then when he was talking about it, like, going into great detail, I'm like, I could have just sat there all night. He even asked, like, he goes, you can come back tomorrow morning and start talking. I'm like, I'm almost thought about not coming to work.
Yeah, because he said about when you mentioned the sequel, he goes, how much time do you have?
I think even looked at my watch, I'm like, I got all night, bro.
Yeah.
You want to hear my pitch? It's about an hour long.
And hearing him talk about like what kind of monsters he thought was cool, like he said that if anything, Freddy scared him the most back in the 80s because it was in your head. You couldn't just run and escape from it. He said Michael and Jason, you could just run. And he was like, I'm not really intimidated by that. But he said, yeah, I gotta say, Freddy in the 80s was like the pinnacle of horror killer then. And I was like, yeah, I know it worked on me, so I feel you, bro.
You're going, he's like, I'm gonna outrun Michael and Jason. I'm like, no, you're not, man. I've seen people just walk. He's like a stroll in the park, like fucking.
And they just fucking Houdini's in like one corner. There he is.
Hell, Michael Myers even changed his hair and his mask in a couple scenes.
Yeah, he did.
Halloween
He put
4.
shoulder pads on at one point. Punch up his shoulders, and he's got locks in his hair. Oh yeah. Ugh, no. God.
But yeah, so like after the Q&A, they did the documentary. We didn't stay for a documentary because of the rain and the cold, and me and Colin had to go to work.
Yay.
I had work the next day too as well.
But I've seen this documentary 4 or 5 times now, and I just like watching it. And the funny thing is, funny story, Lexi's never seen Monster Squad before we went to the drive-in. She saw the documentary before she saw the movie.
So that was her first time seeing the movie. Wow.
So she bought me that Stephen King Rules shirt without knowing the context of what it was. That was my Christmas present this last year, and she's like, and then she saw the documentary, she's like, oh, that's why you like that. I'm like, what'd you think it was?
Honestly, I didn't get it either at first when I saw it, because I've only seen Monster Squad once,
Yeah.
And that didn't stick in my head. The first thing, to tell you the truth, that popped into my head was, oh, it looks like the Hulk Rules from Hulk Hogan's shirt. Yeah. So, I'm thinking maybe they got it from that.
It probably was the original idea.
Because I think that shirt was like a hot seller back in the 80s. I mean, that was primetime Hulk Hogan stuff. Like, hell, I remember as a kid, Hulk Hogan was still the man even in the early 90s. So, probably. In 87, that's when he slammed Andre.
So, yeah. I wouldn't put it past him, so...
Not Andre Gower, Andre the Giant.
Dude, that'd be horrible. What is he, like, 12?
Should have taken your vitamins and said your prayers, brother.
13. Oh my God, body slamming a 13-year-old.
Dude, I'd pay
to dropping a 13-year-old.
Dude, I'd watch that.
For no reason at all.
Yeah. Kid probably liked it.
His special move would be kicking Hulk Hogan in the nards.
Yeah. Dude, you just kicked Hulk in the nards. But no, I found this documentary very insightful and entertaining, and also it's very like emotionally like heartstrung at its core. Like, I did not realize how impactful this movie touched so many people, and I was more how do I say it? I was more into what the director Fred Dekker had to say about Monster Squad in general. Yeah. Because he only did, Andre said what? He only did, 3 movies?
Yeah, Night of the Creeps, Monster Squad, and RoboCop 3.
Yeah, which I had no idea he did RoboCop 3.
I knew he did that one.
I don't think anybody wants.
Yeah.
I mean, after that, he basically stuck to writing, and at least he worked with Shane Black on a couple other projects, but he was very low-key after that movie.
Yeah, say I'll blame him. Yeah. I mean, especially when you're a celebrity or if you're in that high-profile type of business, it's always better to be low-key. Because then celebrity status just seems like a nightmare, and when people know you're a rich and famous celebrity, then you also got to worry about getting sued everywhere you go, too. Mm-hmm. I mean, I got to say, being a celebrity, like they really do hype it up like it's this glamorous lifestyle, but really, I feel like you're walking on eggshells a lot of times, especially now. I mean, jeez.
It's all about playing the game.
Yeah, really.
You gotta play the game if you want to.
Fuck all that.
Be around. That's what they say. But Andre made a good point in the Q&A when we heard him saying, Fred Dekker's interview is easily the most important interview of all the interviews in this movie.
Oh, absolutely.
It's all on him because at the end of the day, you can have a great cast, a great crew. You can put together and assemble a great team of people to make a movie together, but at the end of the day, it's all on the director. It's all on you to make this happen. And when it doesn't succeed, you're going to get too much credit or you're going to get too much blame.
It's like a quarterback in the NFL. You get all the credit for winning and all the credit if you lose. And it's like there's two sides of the ball. Mm-hmm. You know, like how I made the comparison with filmmaking the football. It's like very similar from like your actors being more like the players on the field. Your set's the stadium, and then your crew is basically like your assistant coaches that help put everything together and make everything else better. Yeah. It's like very strong similarities. And I also found it interesting that you talked about that because I heard director Chuck Russell, who did Nightmare on Elm Street 3,
I was shocked.
Who was in Wolfman's Got Nards along with Heather Langenkamp. He said that when somebody said, how do you describe a director's job? And he said, it's the last man standing. And I was like, so for you to say that, I found that very interesting and how that all correlates in with this documentary.
Mm-hmm. Shocking to see Heather Langenkamp. I had no idea she was in this movie.
That was a pleasant surprise.
Very good surprise. A couple other, Seth Green was also in the documentary as well. I didn't expect to see him at all.
It took me back but I thought it fit because he was a child actor and he's into horror.
Yeah, child actor.
Plus he was in It.
Yeah. I would say the television version of It, and he was also in a couple episodes of Tales from the Dark Side, the TV show. That's like, I think that was the first thing he ever did as a kid actor, was that horror TV show.
Did he say in that he actually auditioned to be in Monster Squad and then didn't get it anyway?
I think he did. He did audition to be in Monster Squad, so that makes sense.
But it would have been kind of funny, Seth Green being a big name as he is now.
Mm-hmm.
Starting off in a movie that no one really loved until...
Right.
Everyone loved it, but it wasn't right in that specific time.
Mm-hmm. And that's what helped this movie was time.
Yeah.
Time was the one thing that really helped this movie because Fred Dekker said, I had no idea there was this big following until 2006. everyone's talking about Monster Squad. I had no idea. He thought it was dead and buried because, unfortunately, it did bomb, as we talked about in the previous episode. It didn't make its money back. And you can see the pain with all the actors thinking they didn't want to hear another bad review. It was crushing to them. They think, is this the end of our career? Because this movie is not going to be received well and it's not making enough money. Is this the end of us? And it's heartbreaking. And you can definitely see that in some of the interviews, especially with the actors who have grown up. Ryan Lambert definitely looked like he was choked up a bit, saying it was crushing. Me being Rudy, me being this monster killer, me having like this really great part I've always wanted to love and play. And it just feels like, is this going to be over?
Well, plus it also, to some of them, it might feel like a missed opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like when you're a kid and then something like that happens and you get demoralized and go, man, maybe I just don't have it, to continue in this business. And that business, they chew you up and spit you out. And then you know how people are in the general public. If you don't look or act a certain way, you're a fucking weirdo to them, and you get chastised, and which isn't fair and it isn't right.
No, it's not.
I mean, like an actor like Steve Buscemi, looking the way he does, it's amazing how he's actually lasted so long in the business, even though he's a very talented guy. You know how people are. Like if you don't look and act a certain way, they'll chew you out. So for him to persevere over everything is like amazing, just because the way he looks, he doesn't fit Hollywood stereotypes at all.
No.
But we watch him and it's like, dude, Steve Buscemi brings it all the time.
Yeah, I've never seen him bad in a movie.
Hell no.
I've never seen him bad in anything.
And that's like totally unfair to the actors, because there's so many amazingly talented people out there. But then you also get something like a Michael Keaton playing Batman, where you just go, damn, we weren't expecting this.
We had you all wrong.
Yeah. But, it's amazing that Fred Dekker had like 3 flops and he still was able to get 3 movies made.
But here's the thing, 2 out of the 3 movies, I still don't feel they're flops. So, like, Night of the Creeps and Monster Squad, once again, it's time.
Well, box office flop-wise, and it's like, and it's that like, what, again, football, it's like, what have you done for me lately kind of thing. Yeah. Time can definitely heal all wounds, and they even say that through rentals a lot of times, even if a movie flops, it gets its money back through that. Yeah. Which was another surprising thing, was they said that Monster Squad also, like, it didn't really have big VHS volume. It didn't have a DVD or Blu-ray volume, but HBO was what kind of like gave it a resurgence.
Yeah, it started playing on repeat on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Like when they said that, I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about like if you had to buy it, the VHS was like $100. I'm like,
back then they cost that much money. Ridiculous.
And people were buying foreign copies to just get a hold of some sort of copy of the movie.
What is it? The guy as Adam Goldberg?
Yeah, from the Goldberg show.
I watched that show. I noticed the word Nards used a lot. I never put the correlation between Monster Squad and that until this documentary.
I had no idea, too.
I never knew Nards was a Monster Squad thing.
I never heard of it before.
Because I had heard of it growing up, but I didn't know that Nards was like mainstay from Monster Squad.
Oh,
I had no idea.
Becomes synonymous with that movie.
Because of the quote.
Yeah, of course, yeah. The documentary also, actually did pretty well in terms of like award circuits. It won Best Documentary at the Exploitation Film Festival in 2018 and Best Film at the Overlook Film Festival in 2019. So it's definitely, it's well received. It's amazing. And I don't want to bring this movie back, but we talked about You Don't Know Me, months ago. I view this movie like a science experiment, and it comes down to a simple question. I think the main question I had is, how would you classify this film? And Fred Dekker sets it up by saying, I keep hearing the term cult movie. I don't know what that means. I don't know what a cult movie is. And that leads me to, how would you classify it? Is this a cult film? Is it a classic? Or is it a cult classic? I think there's a difference between the 3 of them in my perspective. And my hypothesis when watching this documentary is that I believe this is more than a cult film. I believe this is a classic.
That was a real interesting topic in the documentary, because I agreed with Seth Green when he said, like, it feels like that definition of cult classic has changed throughout years. Like, even when I first heard the term, it might have even been when VH1 had a Behind the Music of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Yeah. That's when I first heard, cult classic, and I was like, what does that mean? Yeah. Because, like, when I hear the word cult, I think, like, robes and shit, and like, praise Allah, or Allah, Moloch, or whatever that fucking owl from Bohemian Grove is.
Drink the Kool-Aid and commit suicide.
Yeah, it's shit like that.
I was like, where the hell are you going?
I don't know where you're going.
Those weird fucking cults that are out there.
The acolytes with the robes.
Yeah.
Cthulhu for all.
Yeah, well, Cthulhu.
Bohemian Grove's like what I think of now with that fucking owl and the effigies and the fire, and they said like politicians and rich people. You never heard about that? Oh, dude, I gotta show you something.
I don't know, man. You really worried?
I don't go there. It's all the way out in California. I mean, hell, we already heard about that there's like weird Satanism going up in northern PA and on the Delaware border. That's enough for me. I'll stay away from there. But... fuck, now what was I going? Oh, the cult.
Yeah, the cult.
But yeah, no, I agree. I was like, I don't understand what this like cult classic shit means, and I think no matter what, you could probably just take that term out of it because it's a word that's usually identified by these like what a cult actually is. Mm-hmm. I mean, unless if you're like in a group that is I guess in a way kind of like the Rocky Horror fans. I mean, that's almost a cult in a way, but that doesn't like define the movie because at the end of the day, it's just a classic at the end. It lives in cinema history, and I agreed with them. I was like, why do you really need this definition of cult classic? And then now that it's changed throughout all these years, it doesn't, it's not what it is anymore.
Yeah, that title doesn't fit. Like, even over time, they even said, like, it changes. Like, they don't even need to call it a cult anymore because most movies are being independently made now because it's almost easier. Mm-hmm. Like, I've seen more independent movies that are better than the
mainstream Hollywood films that
it's
we get.
Because they have their agendas and they stick to their censorships and their narratives, and when you get people who are doing the independent stuff, and now that we have more access to film equipment and know how to direct actors and the digital age, like I remember Nick Castle was telling me all about like how everything's just so much better and easier to use that you don't really have to rely on Hollywood anymore to make a movie, which is fantastic. But now as filmmakers, you get this independence of doing stuff on your own that you can make something good, and most of the time they're good for those reasons because we don't have all these rules and regulations. Yeah, you got to keep in mind like a ratings kind of mind and what's pushing it too far versus what isn't, and I think that's fair. At the same time, there is a little tug and pull where sometimes having people that say, hey, here's some money, but we got to monitor you because it's our money. Yeah. But when they input their own ideas, it's like, look, you're not the filmmakers here. You just manage the money and worry about what we're doing. Don't put your ideas into it, which is what a lot of Hollywood studios I hear do.
Executive producers.
Yeah. Like and then you get shit like The Crow City of Angels or Blair Witch Project 2, Book of Shadows, and then those projects become totally different and then they're bad. But yet we notice that there's still something good in them, but the final product just suffers.
Yeah, because they tamper with the director's vision.
Exactly.
But if I had to basically give a broad definition of a cult film, it's basically just a film with a following. It has a following. They're known for their dedicated, passionate fan bases, elaborate, subculture engages in viewings, quoting dialogue, audience participation, shit like that. But I think there is a difference between a cult film and a classic because a lot of these films check off that box. And cult films, not necessarily, doesn't mean that they're good. Like, for example, The Room, Samurai Cop, Showgirls. Those are cult films because they have followings, not for the right reasons, because they're all shit movies. People watch them because they're bad movies, because they want to laugh at the film. With Monster Squad, you laugh with the film, because there are generally really good things about the movie. Not just in terms of its premise everything coming together with crew members, but it's score, cinematography, practical effects, makeup.
Acting.
All that is great. I had no idea there were so many master shots in Monster Squad 2 until I saw the documentary. And he even pointed them all out in like a fast forward clip. Master shot, master shot, master shot. And then I saw on the credits it was filmed in Panavision. So the film was made to look more expensive than it actually was. Same way that Halloween did. It was made for a very small budget, but
they got the best cameras, the best lenses, and the best film stock. They got the best
everything. And because the movie was only made for $12 million, you could probably say, well, that movie looks like it was made for $20, $25 million, but it was made for half that. So because, like you said, they got the best equipment, they got the best cinematographer, they checked off all the boxes to make it right. But going back to my point, those 3 horrible films, they're cult films. They have their own following and they suck. But Monster Squad doesn't suck. It's a generally great movie, which I think it's a classic. You know, Night of the Living Dead started out as a cult film, and now it's considered a classic because of how revolutionary it was. It was an overnight cult sensation at the drive-ins with Night of the Living Dead. But like I said, there is a difference. There are people out there that watch bad movies because they love to watch shit movies.
Jeff.
I mean, seriously. Those 3 movies, The Room, Samurai Cop, Showgirls, they have their followings, but do people actually like those movies? Hell no. They're horrible. They want to laugh at the film, not with it.
Dude, I struggle just watching those 3 movies. We all know my feelings about Showgirls.
We all know your feeling about Showgirls.
Best damn
all of our feelings in general for that movie.
Best looking gutters in the fucking block.
Yo, but Samurai Cop still... that's classic. It's classically horrible.
I was like, is it though?
It's not. It will never be a classic. The Room will never be a classic. It will always be a bottom of the barrel cult hit because of how bad it is.
Hence why I said it's classically horrible.
Yeah. That's why Monster Squad over time has become a classic, and that's just my opinion about it. And I think a lot of people would agree with me. And even somebody, I forget who it was in the interview process of the documentary, saying it's a classic. And I just said, thank you. Thank you for calling it a classic, because it is.
Yeah, I don't understand why the cult term has to be labeled with everything, and just because it flops doesn't mean that it is a bad movie. I mean, we've seen that so many times. Yeah, Monster Squad was made very well. Even the kid actors are pretty good throughout the whole thing. I mean, most of the time, sometimes you see kids that are just eh.
Oh,
I felt like Lindsay Lohan was never really a talented kid actor, but not that I've watched a whole lot of her stuff, but I was like, why did they really like push her when she really wasn't that good?
I'm very critical when it comes to child performances, because I treat kid actors just like I should adult actors, because your performance has to be as good as theirs, maybe even better. And so when it comes to me watching horror movies with kids involved, or movies in general with kids involved, their performance has to be good, has to stand out. I'm not going to sugarcoat this, but Jake Lloyd in Phantom Menace was awful. His performance is terrible in that film, and it sticks out to me. I have to come out and say that.
Wait, so you're probably one of the people that bullied that poor kid out of acting?
I didn't bully him. I didn't bully him at the time. Like, yo.
Oh, at the time.
At the time. Oh, okay.
At the fucking time, I would have been a bully if I was bullying him when I saw that movie in 99. I wasn't one of those kids in the school recess yard who was making lightsaber noises behind him, making fun of him. No. That happened to him. I feel bad for him. But, you know, I grew up now, of course, looking more into the fine details of acting. My adult self was... yeah, he wasn't good. At the time, I was like, oh, cool, kid. A 9-year-old kid gets to be in a movie. Maybe that'll be me someday. 20-some-year-old me is judging him, saying, yeah, your performance wasn't good. But no, I look back at these kid actors, and I don't really see any flaws with them. I think they all have great chemistry, and they all play off each other really well.
Yeah, they felt like they were real.
They did. And so, and even going back to what Andre Gower was saying about, you know, child labor laws at the time, kids can only work for so many hours. Because of that, you have to be on your game. Your performance has to be even greater than the adult performances. You have to be professional. And if you screw up, you're costing us thousands of dollars every minute you're screwing up right now. And that's important.
As actors in general.
Actors in general.
I mean, even like at the end of the day, actors do want to get like the best shot in the first take. One, they don't want to be bad at all, especially ego wise, and that alone just can set them off. And two, another reason is because they just want to do their job and go home. Because sometimes some film shoots, believe it or not, are only 8 hours, and then there are other people that do, and because of like actors union laws and stuff, that you only have a certain amount of hours to work. And then even if you have the availability or the time, you probably could film longer, but it's like, well, we got the laws to stick to, so. And yeah, it's a shame that it happens like that, because sometimes you probably could get more shots and not be as stressed out. But I mean, those laws are in there for a reason, because it's been abused.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've seen like dumb shit that's like happened. Like Uma Thurman was in that one car in Kill Bill 2, and she even said like it was dangerous, and here it like veneered and hit a tree or something.
Yeah.
And then of course we all know about Brandon Lee. That I think what happened, part of that story was that like it was a long day and they exceeded some of the filming hours, and the prop guy went home and didn't properly inspect the was it like a 44 Magnum or something, and that's a whole other story.
Yeah, it was the Fun Boys scene that in the bedroom.
So,
but on a film set, whenever I'm involved or around firearms, you have a guy shouting out loud saying, "Live or prop guns on set," or even live guns on set. He shouts it so that everybody can hear it, and he's basically calling off all the guns that are returned to him or are leaving his or her hands. So even if it's a dummy gun, even if it's a fake gun, you treat it like it's a real weapon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some people don't know the difference.
They don't.
Especially if you've never held one. You're like, oh, hey. Because if you ever hold like a rubber stun gun, it's easy to get confused, especially if you look at them as a prop. It's like, oh, wow.
Reason why they're rubber is so they can drop and take a beating, so they won't get damaged. Because a real gun, if you drop that shit and it's loaded, it's going to go off. Oh, yeah. But another moment that was really cool is that, I forget this, how old Fred Dekker was when he directed this movie. He was 26. I think he was 26. He was in charge of directing multi-million-dollar movies at that age, and he was living the dream. And that's just inspiring to me. And all he wanted to do was be with his friends and make movies. And, he and Shane Black, they had their ideas. They just went for it. Back then, it's funny, because they were like, we didn't care about going through all the formalities that you do with screenplay writing. There's no outlining, there's no writing treatments, there's no submitting the script for coverage to get notes on it. They just fucking did it. They just wrote their shit down, and then they presented to the right people, and it got made. So, and like going back to saying, it's a business about who you know. But I just think that's really inspiring. Like back then, they didn't care about all that shit that you have to do nowadays. Like I said, writing treatments, outlining, coverage. People suggest submit for coverage so that you can make sure it's an A+ script. Didn't give a shit back then. They just were passionate fans, and they wanted to make movies together. I'm working on a few scripts. I plan on shooting a short film this year, which is what my goal is this year, is to film a short film. I also liked his house. I believe that was his house that they were filming it in.
Which one?
Fred Dekker's house.
Oh, Fred Dekker's.
I assume that's his house.
Yeah. Honestly,
had some really cool posters in the background.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
Honestly, like his saying that caught me off guard was like when he's like shooting a basket in '87 and it not going in until 2006. He goes, I didn't even know. And it's like no one knew about the popularity until almost years later. Yeah. They were saying, HBO helped, Reynolds helped, but it's like they really didn't know. And most of them found out almost 10, 15 years later.
Yeah.
Especially when the conventions were really becoming a thing. Like, I was surprised to find out conventions had been around for decades. Like, I saw Robert Englund and Wes Craven at horror conventions together, but I have no idea if it was early 80s. I mean, I kind of assume it was, even though...
Wow.
Yeah, because, like, in Never Sleep Again, there is footage of Robert Englund and Wes Craven sitting together at a convention, or just at a table signing stuff. So I assume it was like an early days convention of sorts. But I think the conventions really helped, and like how the vendors have some of these like movies that you can't find, like on eBay, and stuff.
I would say, take for instance, like not being able to find a 60s Batman anywhere, you could find it at a convention, eBay, whatever. Like, that's how originally I got my first set. So it's like, I understand where these people were going from looking for Monster Squad. So
and then,
it's like, I get it.
And then when you look up the conventions, a lot of them even say, do you have any special guests that you think should come in and we should see? And it was like, oh, I wouldn't doubt that maybe they reached out and said, hey, can so-and-so here and there show up? And I was like, maybe that's another reason how this stuff started.
Yeah.
Because it was that, they talked about it was the fans' love anyway that, brought the shit out.
And like, even that Friday night we went, there were still a lot of people there. I saw the pictures for Saturday. I'm like, all right, I'm glad that happened. That line that we were in was small. So I was like, oh man, please don't tell me this is how it's going to be on Saturday. But I'm like, maybe the weather was the effect. I saw pictures for Saturday. Dude, that was way out there. Like, that line to meet him was amazing. Like, I was glad that happened. Like, even Mahoning alone, like, the way they handle everything, the way they do everything, I thought was fantastic.
They have a protocol that they do really well at in terms of following with guests coming at that place. It's great. They're on top of their shit. But another thing, because one really cool thing I like about Wolfman's Got Nards is the artwork from all the fans, and during the scene transitions when it goes from one topic to the next. That was really cool to see that. And just going to all the fan base and their homes and showing their big collection of what they have from the movie or just props in general. That was really cool seeing that. Just how dedicated Andre Gower was to visiting them and asking them questions. And
that was fucking awesome.
I like that. That just shows how passionate and how generally happy he is that this movie has impacted so many lives.
Well, even that little girl over in England, they said that if it's a PG-13 movie, they said they're so strict in England where if you really are under 15, you can't. Like, what? It's PG-13, but it's really 15 over there or something?
Their rating system's a little
okay.
Different, yeah.
And they said, well, let's at least get her in for the Q&A. So they made sure this little girl got in for the Q&A, and they even called her out, and they said, like, oh, is so-and-so in the crowd? There she is.
Yeah. I thought that was actually really cool. So, like, there was two parts of this documentary that we didn't really talk about. So, like, half of it's them doing a tour for the 30th anniversary. It was 17 Alamo theaters in 17 days. But it was the girl that played Phoebe, I think it was her daughter, Andre and
Ryan.
So,
Lambert.
like, the three of them doing it, I think Andre probably did more, but the three of them together, it was kind of like a road trip.
It was a road trip movie.
And it was cool because, like, seeing, like, their reactions to people's reaction to Monster Squad was actually really cool, too. Mm-hmm. And, like I said, they didn't know.
They visited somebody in the hospital, too.
Yeah, because I guess he got sick and he couldn't go to the night before, so, like, Andre and Ryan went and saw him in the hospital. I thought that was actually really cool.
Mm-hmm. Really nice. Really great stuff. Yeah, one thing that they definitely talked a lot about was the rating system and how this movie, where the marketing campaign kind of let the movie down. I do think PG-13 was probably the right rating for this movie. It just needed a better marketing campaign. If they were going to go hard R, they should have done two extra things. They should have made the movie scarier and amp up the violence if they were going to go in that direction. And yes, they did say, we were competing against another juggernaut 2 weeks earlier, and that was The Lost Boys. Everybody just wanted to see that movie.
Yeah.
Was The Lost Boys. That was a hard R. I mean, that also featured a group of kids in California going up against an underground cult of vampires, and Kiefer Sutherland may or may not be the head vampire.
Whoa. You forgot that amazing saxophone scene on the beach.
The saxophone scene. This jacked motherfucker rocking out a saxophone during a club.
And plus, the kids in Lost Boys, they were more adult-type kids, when kids in Monster Squad were, like,
they may be a little
12 at the most.
Maybe a little bit older. They had to have been a little bit older, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, you had the Corys in it, too, so that was kind of a...
Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, yeah. They were big names at the time, too.
And then you had the teenagers who could go see that movie and be a little more relatable to the teenager part of it. Mm-hmm. You know, Monster Squad, it's kind of like, is it a kid's movie? Is it a family movie? Is it really like a horror movie? Yeah. But it's that substance that they have to it, like how they mentioned, and we mentioned in the Monster Squad episode, where the costumes and the makeup on those characters is so good.
Yeah.
And the movie is made so well that it's not stupidly campy. It's not too childish. That's what makes it stick around. It's when you water it down to that family-friendly goofiness. It's kind of like watching TMNT 90 and then watching TMNT 2. It's like, what has more substance?
Yeah.
The original one. Because then family opinions got involved and they said, you got to make it more kid-family friendly, not make it so dark, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, as much as TMNT 2 is still a fun movie, it's not nearly as good as the original.
The themes are gone.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about, like, Monster Squad, dude, the amount of swearing, smoking, and, killing. It just caught me off guard. Like, yeah, it's a kid's movie.
But you know what? That was so real. Like, I mean, how many times you and I were like, dude, would you, like, want to fight a Universal monster or Jason and Freddy? And we were like, fuck yeah, man, let's do it.
Absolutely.
And were we swearing at that age? Absolutely. Yeah, we were.
Uh-huh.
Were we trying to look at naked girls wherever we could? Yeah. Were we smoking? Yes. We became cigar aficionados at 12. That's true. We knew all about Macanudos and Ashton's Maker's Mark cigars.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we did our research.
Yeah, we did. And we just got better as we got older. Like, by the time Cigar International opened up, we were like, yo, what is something new you can tell us?
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah. Well, we got this acid. Heard it.
I'm learning more about you guys every day. Oh,
I
God.
feel like we were the Monster Squad before we found out about the Monster Squad.
Before you found out about Monster Squad.
Oh, hell,
As much as we would have wanted to be Rudy, no, we were probably Sean and Horace.
Oh, yeah. Totally Sean and Horace. I mean, shit, Jeff and I got drunk in Walmart in 2003, and we were, like, playing with lightsabers and Hulk gloves in the hallway.
I kicked the fuck out. That's
yeah, we did.
Shit,
Totally us, dude.
Yeah.
No, there was no Rudy at all. We didn't want to be either.
No, like we went to the beat of our own drum. Like it wasn't. It's what we loved. What we loved.
I mean, we did work out and we
played football.
Yeah,
we did all that stuff, but we weren't.
We weren't dressing up in leather jackets or sunglasses or nothing.
Out of a Stephen King 1950s novel.
Yeah.
Smoking a cigarette.
Nothing like
Greaser
cigars.
Style.
Cigars.
Fucking loafers. For something.
Yeah. Fuck those loafers.
But I have to admit, like, we did mess up in the last episode. We called it a bear. It was actually a dog that Phoebe threw to Frankenstein's monster. His name was Scraps. How the fuck did we forget about that?
I know.
I was thinking about that as we're watching the movie. Like, I feel like I should just call us out on this.
By the way, I know that Andre Gower, Sean, he says that we got Frankenstein's monster in the treehouse, but is it actually Frankenstein's monster or is it Frankenstein in that movie?
They just called it Frankenstein. They never actually called it its monster.
Because I was just thinking about it, that they know it as Frankenstein's monster because that's the original substance, but because it's Monster Squad and the box said Frankenstein on it, I think you could probably say that could be called Frankenstein, is the Tom Noonan's version of the monster.
Because of the whole Universal universe is existing, so they had to kind of probably change it enough. But it makes sense because of it being a living being sitting across the room from you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I can see it as that.
Because I know in IMDb it's called Frankenstein's Monster. Tom Noonan, that's what he's listed as. And I thought in the movie, during the monster test question with Rudy, they asked him, is Frankenstein the name of the monster or the man? And he says, the guy. And I thought that when he was in the clubhouse, they said, guys, I can't believe it. Frankenstein's monster is in our clubhouse
They do.
right now.
They do, but then they just call it Frankenstein from there on out because how would you like it if I called you John the Man the entire time we had this conversation?
I'd like that.
Yes,
I am the man.
John the human.
But what I'm saying is, like, that skirting around the copyright, you probably could call the monster Frankenstein in this movie, and that could be the legit Frankenstein, like when people still don't understand the concept that, no, that's the monster.
Yeah.
That could still be, like, that version of Frankenstein. You could probably argue and say, no, well, that's Frankenstein.
Actually, no, good point. Because then I do recall later on in the movie when he becomes more connected with the kids, they call him Frankie, and they even said, "Don't call him a monster."
Yeah,
because he's not. He's part of us.
The whole mask scene where he goes like this, touches his face, and goes scary. So
yeah, I know. That's like, oh, that scene. Kind of like
I know
he
he
feels bad. Like, oh yeah, that's emotion right there. This documentary is full of it too.
Hell yeah, there was a lot of heart in the documentary.
Kids would open up about them being bullied and how they felt connection to Horace and how they felt that his character arc was the best. Yeah, it is a very good character arc. And I know he shot Gilman. I know he killed Gilman.
I thought you were going to fight Andre, too.
No.
Dude, you son of a bitch.
I couldn't care less who killed Gilman. It didn't matter because just the way he went out is still what bothers me because Tom Woodruff Jr. and that damn costume and Gilman himself, like him being my favorite monster in that movie, and just the way he went out let me down because I wanted to have him get more screen time. And I thought that there was going to be, because I think, Jeff, you mentioned this in the Monster Squad episode, about how one of the cops got hurt during the fight scene with Gilman, and I'm surprised they didn't touch up on that in the documentary, because that's probably why they limited him, because he couldn't see out of that damn mask. That's why they couldn't give him as much screen time as they wanted him to.
I guess when you're only seeing out of a slit.
Yeah, we were a tiny little slit, and you've got piranha eyes, and you've got these jowls like from Predator. I mean...
Well, I was just thinking about it, and then you mentioned it, that I didn't realize Stan Winston was the one who did the Monster Squad makeup and stuff.
Well, yeah, he was the Wolfman face. They used his face to model off of
I know,
Wolfman.
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
Maybe forever going down as Wolfman.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And I love the fact that he was in control of all the effects guys, but he actually gave each person a group.
Yeah.
Well, each monster a group of people to work with, but he was still in control of everything, so he knew what they were doing, how they were doing it. If he didn't like something, he would be like, all right, change this a little bit, do this over here. And I thought that was amazing.
They said he's like that. Believe it or not, and I'm sure eventually at some point we're going to talk about Predator, but I'll just say this story, is that the way he came up with the Predator idea for the look of it, he was on a plane with James Cameron, they were sitting together, and James Cameron was the one who said to him, I think it'd be cool to see something with mandibles on it. And then Stan Winston was like, "Yo, what do you think about this?" And
so
he was just listening to James Cameron. Yeah. I mean, hello.
He was on a flight going to Japan, I believe, and he was drawing concept art for the new Predator because the original Predator was a fucking orange turtle or something.
It looked like a praying mantis.
I don't know. I saw it
stupid.
It looked like a shell with a tiny turtle head, and John McTiernan is seeing this big lugging monster just walking around all
Dude, I remember when Jeff got the special edition DVD and we saw it, an alternate take of it, and it, like you said, it was all orange and it was swinging to a tree. We were literally like, what the fuck was that?
That's the Predator?
Yeah. No.
Yeah, send it back. Start from scratch again, please.
Then they wanted Jean-Claude Van Damme to be in that costume. Oh, terrible
he wasn't
idea.
The costume.
I know he wasn't. Well, nobody likes Jean-Claude Van Damme either.
I like him more than Steven Seagal. Cock puncher.
Yeah, listen, when he ragged on Jason David Frank, I so want Jason David Frank to fuck Jean-Claude Van Damme up.
I don't know, that headlock was fantastic.
Go JDF.
Yeah, the documentary touching on the makeup effects and them talking about each team. I just love the fact that they still had footage of them actually making everything.
I know, that was really cool.
I'm always surprised about that for these small budgets and guys that don't really realize what's going to happen with the movie. They still find a way to get a documentary of some of these low budget or independent movies, and I'm like, really?
That was fascinating with these 35mm prints. When they don't go, they ship them out to Australia and New Zealand because they don't want anybody to pay the postage for that damn film, so it's almost impossible to get it back.
That was so surprising. We don't want these films. Just ship it all the way the fuck out over here,
far away to the other side of the world, so that no one will want to touch them.
Yeah, we don't even want it buried. We just want it shipped all the way out here so that it never comes back.
And it's funny because they had to find one for the 30th anniversary, and I was seeing that movie in its 35mm, when they showed it at the drive-in, I didn't realize it wasn't going to be in 35. Obviously, now I know. Like, after watching the documentary several times, I never registered that, it's not going to be 35 millimeters. Apparently, there's one in existence now in the U.S., so I'm, keep trying to find it and get it. Yeah, I could understand completely.
Oh, yeah. The behind-the-scenes footage, too, is really cool. There was, one really cool shot during the limbo scene at the very end where Sean is floating in midair as they're, forming a human chain to prevent everybody from getting sucked into the vortex. You see him flying in midair, and then also what was really touching was Fred Dekker talking to Ashley Bank, trying to, get her emotions to rise up when it comes for Frankie to get sucked into, and, that was really something.
Yeah.
All the behind-the-scenes footage was really cool. Mm-hmm. I didn't expect as much for this film, but I got more than enough, which was awesome.
And Andre said that at the Q&A. He was like...
There was a lot that was filmed that didn't make the final cut because the studio, TriStar Pictures, wanted this to be 90 minutes, including credits. So the movie was 82 minutes long, and then you have an 8-minute credit scene at the very end. That's it.
I remember thinking, man, this movie feels like it's paced way too fast at times.
I could easily be a 2-hour-long movie, and it still wouldn't feel like it, because, there's so much going on.
Mm-hmm.
It moves.
I feel like there is a jump from, he goes, oh, yeah, we got 24 hours to figure this out. All of a sudden, it's tomorrow, let's do this.
Yeah.
That's why I talked about the plot in the last episode. What a coincidence!
And it was funny, me and Colin didn't watch the movie prior because of us watching it at the drive-in, and I enjoyed the experience more not watching it back to back like that, and I think I enjoyed it at the drive-in more because of that. Mm-hmm. And I was happy we did it that way, but it kind of sucks because we did mess up a little bit on the podcast because not knowing names and the difference between a bear and a dog. But it was I enjoyed it more that way because yes, we messed up a little bit, but I'm making fun of us right now on purpose.
we do make mistakes.
Yeah,
and it
happens.
Yeah.
We're human.
Yeah.
So,
and I was but it made the experience all more enjoyable. Even rewatching it, watching it with Lexi for the first time was really cool because she enjoyed it thoroughly, and I was like, so wait, this is how I found out about. This is the first time she saw the movie, and I'm looking at her, I've watched this movie how many times? She goes, yeah, I've only seen bits and pieces. Only now have I watched the whole thing with you. I'm like, I never even thought about it like that.
And they talked about there were scenes in the movie that were scary. And then, Adam Goldberg was talking about, when you first see Dracula's Batwing hands and stuff, and he's like, oh, should we be, here for the film, or should we leave? It's I didn't find that scary at all. I mean, maybe I've just been so desensitized from some of the hardcore shit I've seen at such a young age. But at the same time, I was I've seen, corny 80s stuff that had a similar shot to that. And to be honest, it almost set a tone that it's it's going to be a little family-friendly, kind of Hocus Pocus type movie. Mm-hmm. But really, it drifts away from that, and it does.
It's definitely not as tame or family-friendly as Hocus Pocus,
without
a doubt.
Well, you're also talking about Disney and TriStar.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hey.
Exactly. I know there was an opening scene. There was more involved with Van Helsing and his people storming the castle. And one guy, I think, ran out of bolts for the Brides of Dracula, and then all of a sudden Dracula shows up behind him with his fangs showing he was ready to bite his neck. That was cut out. I think that's in the... If there's an extended version of this, isn't there?
No.
There is none. Okay, that was just some behind-the-scene footage then, or at least a cut that didn't make it in the final product.
Honestly, I would love to see an extended cut now that it's becoming a popular thing, just to see how the opening credit scene would have been and how if they would add it in a little bit at the end. Because of Sean being the hero and stabbing Dracula on the way out, I would have loved to see that as a full. Yeah. And the scene we got is fantastic, but it's now you're actually showing Sean as the leader, as the hero. Where before, Rudy's the badass.
Yeah.
Like I said, Rudy's the monster killer. He takes out 3 of them. Wolfman, Brides of Dracula, and unravels the mummy.
Yeah. I mean, look at the brides alone. He's shooting stakes as arrows, and then one comes up, he just stabs her. I was like, holy fuck, man.
Oh, yeah, you can even hear the stake going into her chest, too.
I'm in the club.
I'm in the damn club, aren't I? With a cigarette in his mouth. That's great.
Oh,
but yeah, would that crossbolt really take off like that from a bow and arrow? Probably not, but who gives a shit?
You can go make one and then let's a bow in the closet here.
well, it's not aerodynamic for it to take off like that. There's no feathers at the end in order for it to fly like an arrow. Who gives a shit?
But you're on like 12 feet compared to 100 yards, so I don't think it's going to matter at that.
No. So, all good stuff. But yeah, I really like the, my favorite is like you said, you're talking about when they go to London. That was really cool that the movie didn't just take off in the United States. It's now become a global sensation. People all around the world now know this movie. Being at the Prince Charles Cinema in London, having that interview with that little girl from London, really excited to see this movie, and everybody wearing all the Monster Squad memorabilia, the shirts. There's some pretty creative shirts out there. One that stuck out to me was guy had the Wolfman on his shirt, and it was a target, and the bullseye was the Wolfman's Nards.
Yeah.
That was really funny.
Yeah. I mean, like, even the art was really cool. Like, I was just, like, looking at it, like you said, in transition from scene to scene, they were using some of it. Some of it I thought was really fantastic. Some of it was just out there. Like, I think even when they did the art gallery scene showing Andre, I don't know who the other gentleman was, but they were looking at different things for that movie. I'm like, there's a lot of different takes on this.
Oh, no, there are. Absolutely.
I'd like, take for instance, I forget his name now. Oh my god, this is horrible. They actually use his art in the movie, and they're actually, Mahoney uses it for the t-shirt that they had.
Which is what you're sporting right now.
I know, right? I actually like it because it's really cartoonish, but it captures the characters almost perfectly.
It does. Even like the fine details. You can see the bolt on Frankenstein's monster's head. You got the right look for the creature, and then you've got the skeletal mummy and the Wolfman. Everything. It looks great. And they got the horror sticker too there, like from the VHS tapes.
I think they added that for Mahoney, which I thought was pretty cool too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I did not expect that this documentary was gonna be that good. Like when I first read it, it was actually in, I think, Rue Morgue. It was an ad. I'm like, no shit. I was like, cool. I got excited, and I pretty much just waited till it came out because originally it just came out in digital, and I think recently is when it came out on physical copy. So when it came out, I downloaded it, I watched it, and then recently I just got the physical copy because I'm like, I only own very few documentaries in physical or digital. So I did with a Kane Hodder. I also did it with For the Love of Spock, because those three documentaries really stuck out to me.
Okay.
Which Kane Hodder, they did really smart. They put it out on Friday the 13th.
Yeah. Marketing.
I know. I'm like, as soon as it happened, download. But I suggest this one documentary to anybody because it's really good. It's got the heart. It has a lot of backstory. Like, even if you don't know who or what Monster Squad is, like, this is a good segue into it. It's giving you enough story, enough background. At least it'll pique your interest to watch the movie.
Absolutely. One thing that really also struck a chord for me is I'm glad they did this, and I was kind of expecting them to do this, but they did dedicate a portion of this movie to Brent Shalem, who played Horace, who passed away at 22 because of complications with pneumonia. I had no idea the hospital sent him out, and then he got even more sick, and the hospital screwed up his medication that put him in a coma.
I had
no idea that's what happened.
That's so sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and then, basically telling family members he's got maybe 24 hours to live. Because I really do, if he were to this day, and everyone agrees, he'd probably be out there with Andre campaigning this movie, and he'd be out there alongside with him, loving the fan base, contributing to the film's success, and just wanting to meet all the fans, because he does touch a lot of people's lives, because he was that kid who was bullied in that movie, and people know what it's like to be bullied, and they feel sympathy for Horace, and they want to be Horace, and they want to champion at the very end, because he's one of the kids that gets the chance to take down one of the monsters and face his demons. But that was great. They dedicated a good part. I knew they were going to, but I had no idea about the shit that went down with him in the hospital.
That's kind of crazy, though. Like, finding that all out through the documentary was just, like, kind of mind-blowing.
I had no idea.
Yeah. Mm.
Probably even the bigger thing about this whole thing was the fact that Andre Gower was the one who directed everything. So
yeah.
That's what caught me off guard. I'm like, when I didn't ever put the correlation together, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that.
He made this movie. This is very much so his movie.
Yeah, so it explains why it had so much heart, because he, in enjoying his fans, was like, he wanted to show the world that he loves his fans as much as they love this movie, and it explains why horse got so much of a good treatment in the documentary too. So it's like it was fantastic. And
if you also notice, he didn't really talk about the Sean character that much or himself in the documentary. I mean, he could have easily have been like, "This is my movie. This is what I was in. I'm just gonna." That at all.
He treated it as a whole. Like, he is part of the group. We are a group. We're doing this together.
Yes.
Not, I'm the star of this. I'm going to treat it as this is my movie.
Yeah, he didn't do that at all. Just goes to show you how humble he is and how much he appreciates the whole picture, not just him, but as the whole, like he said.
And honestly, like, after meeting Andre, I kind of want to meet now Ashley and Ryan and was it the kid who plays Eugene? I can't remember. But I would love to meet him too, just because, like, even Ashley and Ryan seem like they're very humble, really nice people too. So it's like it'd be kind of cool to
Michael Faustino, who plays Eugene.
Yeah. It'd be cool to meet the rest of the cast at some point.
It would be.
Yeah, it's not like Tony Moran.
Yeah, we had this conversation about Tony Moran yesterday.
Fuck that guy.
Some things were revealed to us. Who gives a fuck about Tony Moran? No one goes to see him because he played Michael Myers for a 2-second shot. Everyone goes to see Nick Castle. He's Michael Myers, okay? Oh, God. No one wants to go see him, Tony Moran, at a horror convention.
Oh, my gosh.
Honestly. But I thought it was... During the road trip scenes with Ashley Bank, like, with her daughter...
I think it was her daughter.
Her daughter. She's got her child with her, like, just going on this road trip scene with all three of them. That's really something. That's dedication to being a parent.
Yeah.
Having her child with her this whole time. Oh, that's great.
Honestly, I understand. Come on, like, taking Thea to go see Batman was like...
Yeah.
I tried this to see how we can do it. And then, like, pretty much, like, her being the mom kind of... Kid mostly takes to the mom, so kind of...
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Have to. I'm going on this road trip. You get the kid for 17 days.
Yeah. Pack a bunch of diapers with you.
Now, we talked a little bit about him before, but I was kind of surprised that Tom Noonan couldn't be in the film. I'm sure they asked him. I'm not sure if he had a conflict or maybe he was dealing with a health issue. I have no idea, but I was kind of hoping to hear from him in this movie, but we didn't get a chance to see that.
So was I.
Yeah, not see Tom Noonan in this movie. And I was not surprised about Duncan Regar, because this is probably his most iconic role, being Dracula in this movie. But at the same time, he was so intimidating in that movie, it's like, oh, I don't think he maybe want to do this because he's probably intimidating in real life, like Andre was saying. This guy is dedicated to his craft. Is he really like this in real life, like off camera? The man also hasn't aged much. He looks exactly the same like he did back in 87.
I was like,
That's frightening, okay? Now we know.
He has found the elixir of life.
Maybe he really is drinking blood or something. I don't know. I was like,
Dracula? No.
Yeah. I was like, I remember when I saw him too. I was like, oh my God.
He looks the same.
He does.
I think the only thing is his hair probably got a little more gray. Just his face.
Just a little bit, but his face hasn't changed much at all. Because I haven't seen this guy without his makeup on. I'm just used to seeing him with the Dracula makeup on and not without his makeup.
And when you have that makeup on, it does change your face dramatically. But yeah, for him, not really. I mean, like, if I would see him walking down the street, I wouldn't be like, wait, aren't you? Yeah, I still wouldn't be like that. But like when you say it, I can see it, and I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, he, like, nothing. Age marks or not. I'm like, jeez. Yeah. And he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who would get surgery. So, I mean, maybe. I don't know. I hear Botox is a hell of a thing, so. For all I know.
I like how at the end, with the Q&A, I think it was in Austin, everybody just shouts out the film's title, Wolfman's Got Nards.
Well, they did a montage of it.
They did.
Yeah,
yes.
So it's like everything, they just kind of like had everyone do it and then kind of just caught it. I think the one that did catch me off guard, they did have a Q&A in 2007 at Cherry Hill, New Jersey. And I'm wondering if that was part of Monster Mania. And I'm like, wait, I didn't get to look it up, but I wish that would have been.
So were you there, Jeff?
No, I wasn't. That was still too early before my circuit. But yeah, like, I thought that was kind of crazy. I'm like, holy shit. So getting, like, as much as the cast they could to do a Q&A then, I'm like, damn, that's actually really cool, because that would have been the 30th anniversary.
Yeah.
30th or 20th anniversary. Wow.
Our years are off.
Dude, I'm always time.
I want that 1987 T-shirt though.
Which one?
The one that we were talking about. It just has the year 1987, and it's got all these classic movies, all these great movies that came out in '87. You know, Predator, RoboCop, Monster Squad, just to name a few. And there's a lot more that came out that year. But Jeff, you're saying, don't they have a 1986 shirt? You'd be like, well, they could put Night of the Creeps in there. They can put the Alien Queen. And they could even put Maximum Overdrive.
Maximum Overdrive. Oh my god!
The face of the big rig truck from the Stephen King directed movie.
Looks like the Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Fueled by cocaine.
That's what the movie should have been called.
Yeah. Fueled by cocaine.
He was on drugs during that whole movie.
I was
He
wondering
said it in interviews.
Yeah.
I was wondering what that white stuff on the truck's nose was.
Oh man.
Stephen King just strikes me as a guy who's big in the coke. I just look at him and I go, you look like a guy who's done a lot of coke.
Have you seen some of these ideas that he's come up with for books?
Oh yeah, but like just looking at him, I'm like, yo, his eyes are like wide open all the time. Probably because he scares himself, so he has to sleep with one eye open.
Pennywise is gonna come get me.
Oh, gotta do another line of coke.
Oh my god.
Not getting me tonight. Or tomorrow. Straight from Colombia.
This is Fred Dekker's best movie.
Yeah.
I mean, he says it in the interview. This is his best movie. I mean, no disrespect to Night of the Creeps, which we'll probably talk about soon. It's a good starter movie, and it's a good movie with a simple premise, and it showcases potential. But it begs the question, where would you go from here? How can you take your talents to the next level? And he absolutely did with Monster Squad, with him saying he poured his heart and soul into this movie. They did, getting the best people, getting the best makeup artists to come together, and finding the right cast with a good chemistry. And it shows.
Yeah.
He even says, like, on his tombstone, he's the guy that made Monster Squad. And he could die happy just knowing that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely nothing to be ashamed about.
Absolutely not. Yeah, it bombed back then, but now it's definitely made its money back now. I mean, with how much merchandise and how much repeat showings.
Merchandising.
I'd say how, like, the fact that they are putting out the vinyl and everything, so it's kind of like, yeah, the soundtrack's amazing, so let's continue putting stuff out there. Like, I keep asking them, like, I'm trying to find the shirt that Andre was wearing in the documentary. It's literally the Stephen King Rules, but it's a black lettering on a black shirt. I'm like, it doesn't exist. I should have asked him at the Q&A.
And it's also could be like one of those T-shirt windows where it's like you have to order within like a day or like within 2 hours. If you don't buy it, then it's going to be gone forever, or it's going to be sold out completely. They'll never manufacture it again.
But yeah, I really like this documentary. I might watch it again this week.
Yeah, to the point where I really, there are no issues with this documentary. I love everything about it. It's emotional, it's engaging, it's heartfelt, it's full of reunions, and it's basically a love letter to a movie that may have bombed, but now it's more popular than anyone could have ever imagined.
Yeah, the only disappointing thing that sticks in my head with it is I wish they would have talked to more of the guys that played the monsters and talked a little more in depth about what like they did and felt. Like, of course, I'm sorry, I forget the guy's name who played Dracula. He was more of the focal point. Yeah, he was more of the focal point for it. They did talk a little bit to the guy who was Gilman, but we didn't get Tom Noonan or the Mummy, and we didn't hear a little bit more in depth about. I mean, I think hearing what Tom Noonan would have had to say about playing Frankenstein would have been really interesting because he was such an emotional pulling character and a well-loved monster, and it was like, not that. I mean, we kind of saw like Boris Karloff do a little bit of like heartfelt moments in the original Frankenstein movie, like especially with the girl, and how you do kind of feel for the monster because he's so misunderstood and he doesn't understand why he's like being the way he is, because like people are coming after him, and he's like this brand new person with an abnormal brain and dead body parts together, that it's like, and that's a more serious movie when Monster Squad's like the monster's already established, but yet the kids are the ones that take to him, and they aren't I mean, initially they're afraid of him, but Phoebe's the one who says, like, oh, he's all right.
Don't be chicken shit.
Yeah.
I taught him to talk.
And then the scene with the mask and the, scary.
Yeah.
You know, I would love to have heard an interview with him and how he talked about that and have that injected into that documentary, just because the documentary is part of now the Monster Squad lore. I mean, it doesn't look like we're going to get a sequel anytime soon, so if this is some sort of continuation, then I'm glad we got this as part of it. It's kind of like how I feel about the Never Sleep Again documentary, because as much as I love Robert Englund, part of me says I think if they were to give another recasting for Freddy Krueger, even though he's still alive, Robert Englund, I mean, I'd be okay with it, just because I do think it's time. Like, if they could put him in one more time and he would do great, which I think he would, awesome. But even if they were to just move on and say, hey, this is what they're going to do, I'd be fine with that too, as long as it's done right. But Never Sleep Again felt like a really good bookend, because they talked about all the good movies. They filled so much in there, and I feel like this is a good bookend for Monster Squad as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I also liked in the Q&A with Andre Gower how he talked about the approaches to acting that Duncan Regar and Tom Noonan did. How we talked a little bit about this before, where Duncan Regar, as soon as his scenes were done with the kids, he would step away. He wouldn't even eat lunch with anybody. He would kind of be on his own because he wanted to be that presence. Where Tom Noonan, he would respond to everybody in the voice of Frankenstein's monster. He would sit there in a chair for like 3 hours before they're getting ready for the next shot, and he would just sit there as Frankenstein's monster. And he would respond with like one-word answers. So that just goes to show their dedication and craft and their different approach when it came to working with the kids and the film crew and everything. That's just funny. I'm just imagining like a behind-the-scene footage of just like a shot of him sitting in a chair in between takes, just looking around or maybe like dozing off a bit and just not being there. I just thought that would be really funny. Oh, and Andre Gower does state, yes, I killed Dracula. Rudy got all the kills, but I killed Dracula. He made that very clear in the Q&A. It was really, really funny when he said that. Guys, I killed Dracula. He did.
He's not lying.
Took a stake and shoved it right in his damn heart. It was awesome. Just good stuff.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Amazing experience. Amazing documentary. Glad we got to do this and Monster Squad together. And actually meet Andre was probably the biggest thing.
Yep.
Like, come on, I'm still laughing at the fact that I got excited over Mahoning's sandwich of the night, because it was Wolfman's Nards.
A meatball sub.
Yeah, dude, that was fantastic.
A meatball sub called Wolfman's Nards. Jeff was all excited about this.
Hell yeah, dude, a meatball sub with parma, mozzarella, some marinara.
Talk about like the photo album experiences, because when we were doing all these different poses with Andre Gower, like Colin and I and everybody's just getting really excited to it, and Jeff's smiling and all the pictures. I'm just really happy to be there. Like,
yeah, like dude, he said, let's do a tough pose. Like everyone crossed their arms. I'm like, they're doing it. I'm like, I'm just smiling. Like, holy shit.
I'm not trying to act like a tough guy. I'm just trying to act like an excited 13-year-old kid right now. He's having us look in a different direction and point in a different direction, and I just wanted to smile the whole time. Or we get to do monster hands, which I'm glad that we got to participate in, and that was in the documentary. He would do this with the kids. He would do, all right, let's make a pose. Let's do monster hands. Let's like growl and put our fingers at the camera and make a pose. Colin did a Power Rangers pose.
I did.
And
Jeff is just smiling the whole time.
But it was funny, like, even when we got up there to do the pictures, he's like, he goes, what do you guys want to do? We're explaining. I'm like, yo, I'm pretty jealous right now. You mind if we do monster hands? He goes, absolutely we can do monster hands. That's not just for kids. I'm like, I got jealous when you told this kid that's they're for them. They were like yells the line that like, hey, we can all do monster hands. I don't care.
You don't have to be kids to do this. You can be an adult and do the monster pose.
I thought that was fantastic. But yeah,
really
I think
funny.
They're posted on our Instagram and John's page. And
Yep.
It was fantastic.
On Twitter, on Facebook.
Yeah, Andre Gower actually liked our pictures too, by the way.
Yes, you did.
I think I'm going to message him about that shirt now.
Please do. Sorry, I missed the question at the Q&A. I meant to ask this one. Where'd you get that shirt?
Out of everything. Stupid fucking shirt. Oh my god. But yeah, it was a
How much poontang did you get after this movie?
Oh my god.
Does Rudy really know any virgins?
Oh, that was one thing we didn't talk about. I love the fact that they were doing a Q&A with a college, and they were talking about how this movie would not have been made today because, like, what, the fat shaming, the slut shaming.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Phoebe would have been the main character. That I thought that was actually really funny.
Yeah, they probably got a more diverse cast of kids. It wouldn't just be all Caucasian kids. It would be more diverse. But yeah, Phoebe would probably be the leader.
Well, dude, I still said it like last time. Phoebe is the hero of this story.
She
She
the
is.
MVP.
Her and Frankenstein. They are the hero and the badasses of the story.
Yes. Absolutely.
As much as Sean and Rudy did a lot of the killing, like they were, Phoebe and Frankenstein were the heroes.
Because if it wasn't for them, they wouldn't have the limbo, and they wouldn't.
I'm still laughing at the fact he grabs Dracula like a dog, like
Bogus.
Uppercuts him and he goes through the spike. Oh, it's great. Yeah, they are the MVPs. They saved the damn world.
Oh my god.
It's great stuff.
But that also adds to like that really cool counterbalance where it's like you know, you can have your favorite of the group and be like, yeah, well, Rudy did this, yeah, but Sean stabbed Dracula, but Phoebe and Frankenstein, if it wasn't for them,
That tag team right there saved the universe.
Yeah. Just like the movie, these are memories that are going to live into our hearts forever, and it's awesome. Yeah, even if you haven't seen Monster Squad, even if you're maybe just curious about the movie, check this documentary out because it really is as good as it is.
even if you don't like the movie, check out the documentary because it might open up a few things to it. I've seen a lot of times where people have not liked a movie, but they watched a documentary and they understand things like behind the scenes shots, or if they do research, they understand why this scene and that scene was done the way it is. Here's a good example. For the first time I saw the movie Trainspotting with Ewan McGregor, I was like, okay, I like it. You know, it was different. And then the more research I did upon it, I was like, oh wow, you know, there's like a shot where he's doing heroin and he gets like sucked down in a carpet, but the carpet was supposed to symbolize like what it would look like if he's dead and buried in a hole. I was like, and you see the shape of it was like that. I was like, and the way the lighting was constructed in certain scenes, I was like, I get it now. And I was like, yo, Trainspotting's like 1,000 times more better than what I thought it was. So like when you look upon the research and dive more deeper into it, and you get to a better understanding of something, all of a sudden it becomes a better movie.
Yeah. Well, I think even look at when we talked about Friday the 13th. People didn't realize how good 6 and 7 were until we talked about it. Like, those are two big movies in that franchise that I don't think everyone realizes are as good as they are. So, like, once somebody talks about it, we talked about it in great detail.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Because, like I said, there were two really big moments in that franchise that changed our opinion on it. Mm-hmm. So, like, that actually is a big thing. So, like, this would be the same concept, too. Cause
I think for a lot of people with 6 and 7 with Friday the 13th, they look at the number 6 and 7, like, oh God, is this going to be any different from 2, 3, 4, and 5? Like,
yes.
What makes this any different? Like, it's a big improvement, believe me. Yes, do not let the number of the sequel deter you from giving it a shot, checking it out, because there's a big difference between 6 and 7 to parts 2 through 5. There really are. Sorry you don't know me. I like the documentary, but your opinion trying to convert me to Showgirls did not change.
Especially when we said everything in that documentary on our podcast.
Yeah.
And we still get shit for it, but fans of Showgirls love You Don't Know Me, the documentary. It's like, okay.
I think the best thing about documentary is finding out about the musical.
Yeah.
the musical, yes. Paul Verhoeven's speech at the Razzie Awards.
Classy.
It was really funny.
But it just shows, like you said, once you find out information about it, or if like finding the love about something, it might actually sway your opinion. Like, so like we said, watch this one. Hopefully, you might might be a nice segue into watching Monster Squad. If not, they're literally almost the same length and time too. I just looked at that as we were talking.
It's almost like they planned that.
They're just like, yo, we gotta.
I gotta say, I was kind of surprised that director Fred Dekker was kind of, I don't want to say indifferent, but when he was talking about how the time of the movie, like I guess finding the appreciation for the movie now still kind of, he's like, yeah, it's cool, but it would have been better if they would have appreciated it when it first came out. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I kind of understand what he's saying, but still it's like, dude, people see it now. You know, like maybe it was people at a certain age that couldn't, you know, like you were ahead of your time and that's all it was. So, yeah. But I get what he's saying, but to just be like, I mean, maybe it was just his presence alone because he could just be that kind of guy. I mean, he didn't definitely sound ungrateful about it.
He did sound a little excited, but like you said, like the indifference. Like I feel like because of him having the 3 flops back to back, it kind of like tainted him a little bit. Even though it was at the time, it was 20 years later. He found out everyone loved this movie. It was just the fact that his career was already ruined as a director at that point. So what's it really gonna do? Yeah.
It's a powerful image that he described that you guys talked about with him shooting a basketball and basically being frozen in midair, and you don't know if that ball is gonna go in or out of the hoop. It's a great image. But I think if the marketing campaign had been more on point, I don't know if this would have helped. That maybe if it got away from the window of the Lost Boys, maybe it would have stood a better chance at doing better in a weekend at the box office, because it really comes down to Friday and Saturday. If there aren't any butts in the seats in those 2 days, it can make or break a movie.
I remember then everyone was talking about that, how they took the limo and they went in certain theaters to check it out, and like 1 or 2 people, if not empty.
Yeah, look, there was a theater that could seat 300 people, and there was 7 total in the theater.
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
Yeah. There was one person at Mahoning that honked their horn during the Q&A saying, who saw this movie in 1987? One person honked their horn saying, I was there. I was there. So, yeah.
I feel that way for that movie, Detroit Rock City, with the guys from, it was kind of like a That 70s show with the guys who go see Kiss. I saw that movie in the theaters, and I felt like I was one of the only ones. But you know what? I could see that movie kind of being like one of those like these movies where everybody looks back on it and goes, you know, that movie was pretty darn good, but nobody saw it. Because I was like, yeah, I enjoyed Detroit Rock City.
I didn't hear about it until I was in college.
I mean, I'm a Kiss fan, so like right away that struck me, and then I was like, dude, that looks like so much fun.
Kids, the whole plot is just trying to get into a Kiss concert.
Yeah.
While they're tore up their tickets, and they have to road trip to Detroit just to see a damn Kiss concert. And what
I would do that. I would totally do that.
Like I said, I didn't hear about that movie till I was in college. And I fucking loved it.
Yeah, so if like something ever happens with that, and the guy says, "So, did anybody see this movie at theater?" I'd be the guy, be like, "Yes, sir." I did.
I couldn't see Monster Squad when it came out in theaters because I was maybe 3 months old.
Not even a year.
Yeah. Not even half a year old. Oh, man. It's great, though. Like we said, we talked about this to death. And my favorite, if I had to pick a favorite scene, like I already said, is the last 15 minutes when they get to that milestone at the Prince Charles Cinema in London towards the very end. And it's great just seeing it all come together. I think that's the milestone of that movie, getting to a global reach, which is awesome.
Yeah, I probably the emotional attraction that everybody had to it because of this movie that just like totally bombed and like didn't even really have the light of day for a VHS copy, and then a DVD, and it was like, oh, you gotta send letters, you gotta, put tweets out or Facebook message, like anything in any way you can to the studio, say, yo, give us a copy of this on DVD and Blu-ray or whatever. I thought, wow, and then for it to actually happen, I was like, that's power of the people, man. That was really, really awesome.
Let's start for a fucking 4K release right here, right now.
Yeah.
4K release of the Monster Squad.
Just like how we did with Ninja Turtles in our episode. Like, we want a 4K and a special edition and a documentary. Like, we want fucking everything with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and it's all 4K.
We demanded the whole shebang.
Yeah. Just fix the imagery. Don't change, like, lighting, nothing, none of that bullshit. Just make it 4K the way it is. Better quality.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we want. Not this, like, changing lighting and adding CGI. No, don't touch it. Don't, leave it alone.
Don't tamper with it like
either
that.
Movie, I think the biggest thing for me was actually the road trip. Seeing the dynamic even years later that they still were friends. That's one thing that got me. Like you said, the emotional effect. Like, yeah, they were friends when they were kids, but now seeing them as adults and having their own kids and still being friends, I'm like, that's a bigger statement right there. Like, I'm glad that they kind of, like, they might have lost touch for a little while, but at least they're working together, talking together, and still being friends. And I thought that was the biggest pull for me. I'm like, so emotionally, yeah, that was a big pull for me.
Yeah, the only thing disappointing about the documentary, like I said, was probably not seeing more of Tom Noonan and talking about the monsters a little bit more. They did talk about the makeup and the costumes and how they said that even Andre Gower at the Q&A said, I challenge anybody that we probably had the best looking monsters in that movie. And he's right, and we talked about that in our episode of Monster Squad in general. Those monsters did look fantastic in that movie.
They made improvements over their counterparts in the 1930s and 40s. They felt more like the Hammer horror creations from London, especially the Wolfman, because I'll be honest, like the original 1930 Wolfman, while it is a very good classic, the guy, Lon Chaney Jr., basically, he resembled more of a dog, I felt like. With the pushed-up nose and the hair in his face. This fucking Wolfman looks like a good counterbalance between something that you would see in an actual wolf and a man. You got the pointy ears, you've got the eyes, you've got the distorted jowls and the teeth and everything. I just felt like that just felt more like what I wanted to see. They probably, I don't know if they probably couldn't pull it off back in the 30s. Maybe they could have, I don't know. But
I doubt that they could.
They doubt, yeah, exactly. He just resembled that of a dog in the 1930s movie. And like I said, night and day difference between Gilman in the 50s and Gilman in the 80s.
But it was cool seeing that, like, even the guys who did Gilman were fans of Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Oh, they were.
So they were excited to do that, too.
That's another thing that I was really surprised about, was how so many people have such a big love for the Creature of the Black Lagoon, because even, like, when I was in elementary school, there were these books in the library about the old classic horror films, and that's another way how I actually started learning about the old classic horror movies, was from going to my elementary school library and finding, like, I first found out about Bela Lugosi played the monster in Wolfman and Frankenstein versus the Wolfman. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh wow, Bela Lugosi. So Dracula was Frankenstein's monster at one point? I thought that was cool, and I'm seeing the black and white pictures of him and stuff. Yeah. And I remember thinking that the Creature of the Black Lagoon, that was scary.
Back then it was, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, even that imagery of him swimming under the woman, that was a big thing.
How they could pull that off, that was really cool.
That was kind of like the Jaws poster before the Jaws poster. Because, I mean, you're looking at that thing, and it's like, it could, like, bite you and harm you. It could scratch you, and it's, like, scales and stuff look like they were lethal as well.
Like
so
armor.
Yeah,
basically.
so I'm like, this guy just looks, like, frightening.
He was my favorite monster, definitely. And he's the one that came later, after Dracula, after Wolfman, after the Mummy. Like, it was Gilman that came in the 50s.
And also on not just like his look that's intimidating, but also that fear of water, where if he's just like so stronger and overpowered you, you can just drown at the same time if you're struggling to get away from him. So you have that working against you. I mean, that monster is a really scary and impactful monster. I feel like in modern days, he's kind of like got knocked down a rung, especially because vampires are so much more popular. Yeah. And Frankenstein's monster, I would say, is probably like the second. And then I think maybe in like after a while, time will probably change it. Like, like hearing the stories about the creature and the Gilman. And maybe that might actually work its way up a little bit more. Maybe even the Wolfman might flip-flop or something. So
I know Blumhouse is currently working on sort of revitalizing the whole Universal Monsterverse. Like, They're already working on treatments with Dracula, Wolfman. I'm sure Creature, Black Lagoon's probably going to come in there eventually. But I also really liked how all these teams that worked on these specific monsters for Monster Squad, they would go on to have really elaborate and exciting careers. In fact, one team who worked on Gilman, I think they would go on to make their own Gilman with Guillermo del Toro's movie, The Shape of Water.
Yes.
They got to make their own Gilman. So that was kind of cool.
That was really cool.
Yeah. You get to see the details, you get to see the makeup and how the mold is being made and all the detail. It's really fascinating stuff.
And they had some practice with the Hellboy movie.
Yes,
I wonder if they were the same people. They had to be, because Guillermo stuff is like when you see his monsters, it's like
very specific.
Yeah, you know it's a Guillermo del Toro monster.
Even if you look at Pacific Rim, like those monsters are very specific.
Even if they're really all CGI, they're very specific in Pacific Rim.
I mean, Pan's Labyrinth, that's Guillermo del Toro written all over.
It's a combination of whimsical and terror.
The only one that I would say like doesn't really stand out are the vampires in Blade 2. They don't.
I could see it when the gels open.
Oh, that part, yeah. Now that you say that, but like them as regular vampires, I'm like, that doesn't look like what Guillermo's known for. But yeah, like you said, when everything opens up, that's Guillermo. So, do you guys have anything else to add to our Wolfman's Got Nards discussion?
I'm content.
Yeah, I'd say just watch it. I want to say thank you to Andre Gower for actually making this, showing the world that Monster Squad isn't as amazing as we are making it sound too.
Yes.
And I want to thank Mahoning for letting us get the opportunity to meet him and then do the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Mahoning.
Thank you, Mahoning.
We all have a lot of fun out at Mahoning Drive-In. We hope a lot of people who hear this, who are in the PA area or close by or whatever, want to come check it out because it's, it's a pretty cool drive-in. I think they even have their own Instagram page, or is it just The Last Drive-In, the documentary? Because there is that documentary that you had the little cameo in, Jeff.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, I think I know they have Facebook. Obviously, they're posting everything on there. I think they do have an Instagram.
They have to. I'm sure they do.
I'm trying to remember. I'm on both, so.
With them being one of the very last drive-ins in existence in the United States, they have to have.
Which is a shame. Drive-ins have been tremendous fun. I mean, hell, my mom and dad said, like, the first, like, at least one of the first movies I ever went to was Batman and Beetlejuice, and that was at a drive-in at 2 years old. And then growing up, I do remember going to see movies like Jurassic Park and Lion King.
Dude, Lion King alone.
Yeah. All sorts of like really cool movies at the drive-in, and seeing like how they just went away. I remember thinking, why?
I don't even know. Like I said.
Yeah, I just don't see the demand for it to like die.
No, it was fun. Like I'm glad. As messed up as it sounds, COVID made Mahoning a popular thing, and I'm glad it happened because they were able to do so much. Like I think I said it before, where they had Bruce Campbell up there. They did 2 days of that. They just did Andre. I feel like there's some other ones. I remember Felissa Rose was up there. I think it was for their almost like summer camp thing. So that makes sense. But yeah, like I think the upcoming weeks they're gonna do. It came from the '80s. Van Party. I already talked about Zombie Fest, which
end of May.
They have a lot of good ones coming up. I saw RoboCop, the original RoboCop on 35mm, and Escape from New York on 35mm.
Fuck yeah.
Ooh.
Awesome, great. That's
I know they're Tuesday nights, but if I'm not working,
there was a couple. Like I did want to go see Night of the Living Dead up there.
Oh yeah, that would have been a good one.
But it was a Tuesday, so I was like,
damn Tuesdays.
Even for Zombie Fest, they have 2 actors from Dawn of the Dead going to be there Thursday and Friday. Was it Flyboy and the pregnant woman is his girlfriend in the movie, and they're actually going to be watching Dawn of the Dead. And I'm sitting there going, do I really need to go to work?
Yeah.
It's a downfall of like cool things happening.
Can
It's
I
just
call off this day?
We have vacation days to burn.
I know.
Well, I know I do. I can't use my vacation days on weekends.
Is COVID-19 still an excuse that you can use? I've got COVID. I can't be at work.
That's a horrible excuse. Joe. Go sit in the corner for that one.
You could just tell them that you were around somebody, and it's like, I just need to.
It's even worse excuse. Now I feel like a scumbag. But yeah, like I would suggest just go up there and check it out. Like there are multiple things going on, and I can't say much. I can't say really anything bad about it. I won't because
Yeah, the only thing bad about it is really the weather if it gets bad.
Well, that's kind of a given.
Yeah.
Even like
Oh, and depending on what car you have.
Yeah.
If you want to watch the movie in your car, just have a portable radio with you instead.
Don't kill your car battery.
Well, no, I mean, I have a 2019 Chevy Equinox, and I have that push start thing, so I can't just turn my car back. So, and because when we were up there and it rained, it like ran for an hour, and then it just like stops automatically as like a safety mechanism. Mm-hmm. But then you get like an extra 10 minutes or something after it stops running, and then it dies, and then you got to start your car back up again. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. So, yeah, don't watch Lord of the Rings up there with a newer car.
Oh, jeez.
Why would you watch Lord of the Rings anyway?
We won't get into that.
Yeah.
I watched Lord of the Rings. Maybe not there, but I just... Anyway. We hope to return, and we will be returning to Mahoning, because it is a great place to be.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. I've been going for, 5 years now? So...
It's peaceful. It's pretty easy drive. It's nice up in the mountains. Fresh air.
Yeah.
And you get as loud as you want, and everyone will join in.
Yes.
You can camp up there, too.
Yeah.
Do they have newer movies there?
Sometimes, yes.
Okay.
Well, obviously, Nards is a new movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they try to stick with the retro feel, so they try to do as much 35mm as possible. So they'll actually advertise it as 35mm. If they don't, it's probably going to be a newer movie, like might be a stream or whatever, because they had that set up a different booth just for that. Mm-hmm. But most of their old horror movies definitely going to be 35mm. Come on, we get to see Chopping Mall. So that one was always fun. Dude, seeing Evil Dead in 35mm was fantastic. I've seen that movie a million times, and I will still watch a million more because it's ridiculously amazing. But I think for Zombie Fest, I'm going up on this Saturday, so it's definitely going to be Fulci's Zombie.
Oh, God, Zombie. Oh.
That's an amazing movie. I'm hoping that one's in 35mm too.
Nice.
So thank you, Mahoney, for giving us the opportunity, and thank you, Andre, for this amazing movie.
Thank you, Andre.
Yeah, thank you, Andre.
You're an amazing person. Keep up everything.
Yep, we hope if people get the opportunity, please meet Andre, because you won't regret it. He's very appreciative of you as you are of him. So, and Mahoning Drive-In, once again, thank you. It's always a lot of fun. We hope more people come and check out the atmosphere and check out the movies, classic or new.
Indeed.
So with that being said, I think we're going to sign off, guys. All right, this is Colin Peters.
John Rochetter.
And Jeff Manfred.
Thank you all once again for listening. Stay safe. Stay crazy.
Please, somebody help me.
Oh, yeah.